Yes, into the wonderful world below the surface of the ocean. Marco Bordieri from the Sydney Underwater Gazette joins us. Good morning, Marco.
Good morning, James. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you. And you're going to tell us about bottles under the waves today.
Yeah, we're not going to talk about sea life this weekend, but other types of experiences offered by our underwater neighborhood. It's about finding old bottles laying on the seabed on the Sydney Harbour.
And are there a lot of bottles?
Oh, yeah, there is plenty of them. It depends where you go. Some areas, especially like under the ferry route or places where people used to stop their boat for fishing or maybe sitting on the shore, people used to drink and throw these bottles. So there are literally thousands probably.
Well, that's hopefully people aren't doing that anymore. But is it interesting to, go and find these bottles, and what are you looking for, and what can you learn from it?
Yeah, so it's interesting because also it's a matter of understanding where they come from. Many were locally produced, like ginger beer, or beer itself. Sometimes there were pocket bottles of whiskey branded with the name of the hotels. I found one from the Hotel Manly, which actually had still some liquid inside, was still sealed, and or the Paragon Hotel. But also many British spirits, Dutch gin bottles with very characteristic square shape. And they're all from 1800. So if you think 200 years in the water right there.
Yeah, right. And would you go looking specifically for bottles? Do you say to yourself, this is a bottle expedition?
Well, sometimes I have to admit I do dive just for bottles in some areas. Sometimes you just go diving, looking at the sea life, and then you find something sitting on the sand, and you have a look. And most of the times they are very common. They are called long neck bottles. It's the traditional bottle without any marking because they used to have paper labels, and with the water, those clearly are gone. But some others have very interesting markings, like beer bottles, like Rasher's, Tooth, Tweez. They got this iconic lion and horse together with the royal cipher of Queen Elizabeth II. Those are definitely something that you don't want to leave underwater.
Yeah, right. And I guess you see a bit of an evolution in the design of bottles. So, bottles used to come in interesting shapes and probably less so now.
Yeah. There are, apart from the ones with this specific embossing, definitely there are others that are pretty high on the list of the bottles you would like to find. One is called the Cod bottle. They were used for carbonated drinks around end of 1800, and they're made of fig glass, so they're pretty heavy because they had to withstand the internal pressure. And back in the days, the problem was to keep the gas inside, and metallic crown caps had not been invented yet. So the solution for keeping the content inside was to have a glass marble pushed against a rubber washer by the internal pressure. So the marble will stay against the mouth because of the pressure. And to drink them, you had to push with your finger the marble inside, and you let the air escape, and then you drink it. And it's something that's still used in Japan. There is some drinks in Japan, they still use them.
Well, there you go. Do you have a favorite?
Yeah, well, the Cod bottle is always a great find. But I like also the torpedo bottle, which is called like this because of the shape. So the problem was the same, how to keep the gas inside for a carbonated drink. And before inventing the Cod bottles, they used a cork. But the cork can only hold gas if it's either compressed, like a champagne cork, or kept wet. But how do you keep a cork wet? Because normally people will store the bottle vertically. So they invented the simplest solution of all. They said, if we have a bottle with a pointed base, nobody's gonna stand up the bottle. So in that way, the bottle is always laying on the side.
Yeah,
and the cork is wet. And another one which I really love is the so-called ceramic ginger beer bottle. They're made of ceramic. They are small but pretty heavy. They weigh like 700 grams empty, and they store 300 millimeters of beer. So if you think such a big mass for something that you drink in a couple of sips, but so they were so unpractical in packaging in a way. But when you pick one from the seabed and you feel all the irregularities and the weight, I like to think they are like buttons passing through a time machine.
Oh, wow.
100 years ago, someone threw them in the water and they were experiencing exactly the same tactile sensation. Yeah. And then you go with your hand exactly in the same place and you feel the same irregularities and the same weight and mass.
Great.
That's just magic to me.
Thank you very much, Marco. And I suppose tricky conditions for diving today, but it'll be better tomorrow, yeah?
Sure, yeah. Today's not great. Visibility has been reported average 6 meters. Today there is the little bit of northeast wind, which never helps, and rain. So tomorrow could be a little bit better, but we don't expect conditions to improve very much during the weekend.
All right, thanks so much. That's Marco Bordieri from the Sydney Underwater Gazette. You're on ABC Sydney with James O'Loughlin.